After the trial, Teresa Smith, a sister of one of the victims, decided she wanted to speak with Lionel and Shari. Shari had made the first tentative move in the courtroom. 3 years later, their conversations have developed into a friendship.
You come very good.
There you go.
Thank you.
Very pretty. Where's Lionel?
Oh, he's here long.
I have parents, and I put myself in their shoes. If that was my parents, they would be going through a lot. And the guilt is just overwhelming, and you could see that and feel that when you talk to them.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. She came very good.
No kidding. Why did you bring me?
Oh, well, I brought
my hand.
I brought the kids.
I don't hold them responsible for what Jeff did, ever. He was grown when he did this. I talk about his life because I wanted to see what kind of upbringing he came from.
In trying to come to terms with Eddie's death, Teresa felt she had to meet the man who had killed her brother.
I wanted to know Eddie's last words because I wanted to know what mood my brother was in before he took his life. Well, he said he was sorry when I first walked in there. That's the first thing he basically said to me, and he was sorry for killing him. And it was just pure selfishness on his part. And if he could do it all over, he wouldn't have did none of that. But he couldn't help himself. So...
And stuff. I'm really glad to see you guys.
Yeah, we are too. We're glad you're back
This
down
summer,
here.
she is unlike any other person I know because I would have a very hard time forgiving anyone associated with someone who had done what Jeff did to my loved ones.
I wish everything could be this peaceful. And
I know.
friends
It'd
and
be
get
nice,
along like
wouldn't it?
this here.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to have your own private little island somewhere to escape?
Yes.
Just forget it all.
You just understood that you had to move on and you had to understand. Otherwise, you would just stay in the past. And I couldn't deal with that because just thinking about that hurt it even more. It's been 3 years and it still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much as I didn't before I knew them.
That's a beautiful lake.
How's your family doing?
They're doing well, as well to be expected and stuff,
Good.
And yours?
Just getting by, right. About the same.
Yeah. I think he did what he could. You can always look back and say, you should have did this, and you should have did that, and you should have been aware of this. But you can't. It's like I said, it's easier to look back and blame. It's harder to just go ahead and say, well, this is what we'll take it from there.
A decision Jeffrey Dahmer has recently made has helped Lionel to look forwards. His son has chosen to be baptized.
All my life, I've tried to do practical things for Jeff to help him out when he's gotten into trouble, and maybe I wasn't just equipped to do that. But whatever the reason, his recent baptism in the Christ and his newfound faith is a comfort to me because I feel like I've had some part in doing that, and it's very important to me. Perhaps the victims' families will come to believe that he does deserve the end reward.
I can't forgive him right now, but being the way I grew up and being a Christian, you're supposed to. You never forget. But one of these days, I might be able to do that and just let it go.
Well, my opinion as a police officer is that it's easy to get religion when you're in jail. I mean, there's no place else to go. But I also do believe, because I have a faith, that if he wants to live with himself, and this is a point that I tried to drive home to him when I was trying to get him to tell me about the homicides, was that he had to admit to God what he did, ask for forgiveness, make some amends, and That's the only way he'd be able to live with himself. From my conversations with Jeff, I would say that he is genuinely reaching out and trying to embrace some religious aspects of life in order to make his life more bearable.
He's there for the rest of his life. That is his home. That is where he's going to die. And to make amends with God is the right thing to do. And that's the only one who's going to forgive him for his sins. We have no right to say, oh, you can't be baptized. You know, who are we?
When I found out what Jeff had done, I could have just walked away and forgotten about any type of affiliation or duty. The reason I stayed with Jeff is that I identify so closely in his shyness, his feelings of ineptness and inferiority. There's a very deep love there to try to do something to show the world what he really was like as a youth.
In looking at what he had done as an adult, one would expect to find horrible secrets coming out of his childhood, perhaps abuse of various kinds. There simply was never any evidence to support those notions. He had an imperfect childhood. Many people do, and not anybody else comes to an adult life and winds up killing people as Jeff has done. So while there may be contributing factors in his childhood, they certainly don't provide an answer as to why Jeff did what he did.
People want us to feel ashamed, and I think that's sad. I think that's incredibly sad that they want us to bear the shame for his crimes. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We're guilty of bearing the same last name. My husband gave him creation, was part of his creation, but we have no reason to be ashamed. And I'm puzzled sometimes when people look at us as though we have not eaten enough dirt or paid a dear enough price, because I dare any of them to walk in our shoes.
It's amazing to me in 31 years, 31 short years, how I could create such hell for myself and everyone around me. Because I did it. It was my doing, my little horrid creation. You know, I mean, people can say, well, it was family pressures or it was mental disease, but the fact is that I'm the one that did it. Very self-destructive life.